Hello and welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. Today I'm going to show you how I painted this watercolor painting. It's basically branches reaching out for the sun in a bit of an abstract way, I suppose. My goal today was just to sit down, pull out some paints, and relax and have some fun. So I hope that you have the same experience if you follow along. So let's begin. These are the supplies that I have for my water painting today. I have some Strathmore watercolor paper. It is 140 pound, 9 by 12 inches. It is the 300 series, and I've got it taped to my canvas landscape. For paints, I'm using my pan paints, and I think I'm going to be using yellows and reds and purples today. And I'll be using black for the tree as well. I have 3 paint brushes that I always use. I have a number 4 round, a number 4 liner, and I don't know how big this is. It's either a 10, 12, 13, something like that, round brush that I use. I also have just a green coloring pencil that I'm going to use to trace out my trees after I do my background. I have, it's hard for you to see this, but I have a little water sprayer that I'm going to use. And I brought out, not sure if I'm going to use it or not, but I brought out my alcohol bottle here. And I'm going to see, I might use that to make some splatter. I vaguely remember seeing someone doing that years ago, and I just thought of it today. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try it. I have some water and I have some paper towels. So I am going to get going. First of all, on my background. So I'm going to start with, I have one yellow. I have 2 yellows actually. One is lemon yellow, one's cadmium yellow. I'm going to use the lemon yellow. So I'm just going to take that large brush and I'm going to wet about 1/3 of my canvas like this. And then I'm going to put some yellow onto it. This is going to be very, very, very easy. I just want to do something really, really easy today. I hope that the lighting is okay. It's an overcast, cloudy day. I probably say this all the time, but lighting is the hardest thing to get right when you're doing YouTube videos. It's really not easy. In fact, I think everything is washed out right now. I'm going to pause this and I'm going to see if I can do something about the lighting. Okay, I hope that's a bit better. I adjusted my camera settings. I'm just afraid that it might be too dark at times, but I can try to fix that if I have to. It's a real pain in the butt. I need a studio with no windows to do these videos. So I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom third, just putting some water down. This is wet on wet. And I'm going to go into my purple. It's called Deep Violet. And I'm just putting some purple on there. Now I need to let these 2 layers dry before I put the red in the middle, because this is going to be my underpainting and I want it completely dry before I start mixing colors. Okay, these are dry, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to do my red color. I'm putting water in, but I'm not touching the yellow, nor am I touching the purple. And I'm just going to choose a bright red, maybe carmine red. 1, 2, 3, 4. I touched a bit of the purple there because I got some on my paintbrush. Now it doesn't look too exciting right now, but it will. Okay, I'm going to just put some over towards the yellow. And I'm going to spread some over towards the purple. And that's what I wanted to achieve just for the underpainting. So again, I'm going to let that dry and then I'll come back to it. My painting is pretty much dry, so I'm going to go into the yellow. I'm not going to hold this palette up. You guys know what paints I'm using, and I'll let you know as I go. So I've got my number 4 round brush, and I've got my yellow, lemon yellow, and I'm just going to put little dots everywhere with my paintbrush. This is not something I planned. I just decided to do it because I wanted to put up a painting for Rain Francis Art, but I did a drawing and it didn't work out. So I was like, oh, but I still want to do something. So I'm doing this and I don't know what I'm doing. So now I'm going to go into the red, carmine red. Same thing, just putting little kind of dots everywhere. And it's okay if you get this into the purple and the yellow. I'm not trying to make it look like splatter. I'm just kind of putting dots, almost as if it's looking like leaves, I guess. I just really wanted some art therapy today. I wanted to relax and not be stressed out about anything. All right, now I'm going to go into the purple and do the same thing. It's been a stressful week for me. Well, a stressful year. A stressful decade. I'm starting to feel better though. My finger is, I'm not depressed about it. It happened and I accept it. This broken finger here. It's been in the cast for 2 months now and I can't move it whatsoever. There's still a wire ring inside of my finger to keep my knuckle together. I can't feel it. It's numb. The whole finger's numb. I feel pins and needles. That's what I feel. It's kind of weird. All right, so I'm going to let this dry and then I'm going to come back to it. All right, back into the yellow with my large brush. The painting is, I mean, there are some spots that are a little wet, but now I'm going to kind of blend a little because red and yellow makes orange. And I want to soften up that line there. And off I go with the orangey yellow. I want to get rid of some of that red from my brush though. Just have some yellow on there. You know what? I've got a paper towel here. I want to take that orange off. I don't want orange that far up into the yellow. I don't mind a little bit around the edges, but I'd rather it be yellow up here. So I'm just kind of doing a wash of yellow over this. Hello, Benny. My little puppy is here to see me. He always comes to check me out, see what I'm up to. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the red. It almost looks a little pinkish sometimes. And I know that some of the dots that I created are going to be washed out, but that's all right. I want them in the background as texture if they end up showing up. Do you see what I mean? Some of them are going to show up, some of them won't. Just going into the purple area. Now a little bit of water just to make sure that that's well blended. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the purple. These are really vibrant colors. I was going to do blue and green and purple, but then I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to do yellow and red, but I like purple. So, okay, now I'm going to go in and soften this area up here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I have my spray bottle, and I'm just going to spray. This is going to take a while to dry now. See what it's doing with the red? I absolutely love that. It's not doing, it doesn't have the same effect the other way, I think. Let me try. Well, it kind of just turns it white, but that looks really nice. And yeah, I've created a lot of puddles, so it is going to take some time to dry. I'm going to pause this and I might go and pick up my hair dryer. This is relatively dry now. I love how the colors sort of spread as I put the hair dryer on it. You see the red came up and turned orange there, and then we have this little ridge of purple down here, and you can see the little dots in the red. So I'm going to take my yellow, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a yellow wash. It doesn't have to be over the whole thing, but I really like how the yellow looks on the red. And that's why I'm doing it, because I kind of want to turn this into an orangey red color with a layer of yellow on top of the red, because I think it looks really nice. And I was thinking of this morning as I was waking up. I get up very early in the morning before light, even in the summer. I get up at 4 in the morning. I go to bed and it's still light out. It's crazy. I have these great blinds that I put on, but if I'm getting up at 4 in the morning, I have to go to bed by 8. I feel like a kid, you know, get to bed. But I thought of it this morning when I was watching the sunrise. I'm like, yeah, I love those colors, you know. Okay, so I'm just going to move this water over here, and I'm going to put a little bit more purple onto the purple. But I'm using a different hue of purple. I'll just put this layer on first, and then I'll show you. And I'm just doing a wash, meaning that it's mostly water and a little bit of color. Because in the middle it could get a little muddy with the yellow and the purple together. And I'm going to do something about that right now. Just going to blot that out. My page really buckled up. So originally I was using this purple here. It's called Deep Violet. And I just put a wash of this one, which is called Fresh Purple. Okay. Now I'm going to grab the red. that original red that I had. I'm going to try to get all the purple off of my paintbrush. And I've got that carmine red, and I'm going to put some right here. Hopefully it won't get it too dirty and muddy. A little water. And I've got my brush like super lightly touching the page. Okay. And again, I'm going to let this dry. I really, really like how this is looking, and I hope I'm not about to ruin it. I've got my little bit of alcohol in here, and I'm just going to grab a different paintbrush, and I want to try something, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip it in, I'm going to tap twice, and then I'm going to do the splatter method, and I want to see what's going to happen. If anything. Well, doesn't look like anything's happening. I heard that it's supposed to create white splotches on your page, but it doesn't. Okay, well, that was an experiment for nothing, but that's okay. We can think of something else. Now, what I'd like to do is I want to do some splatter. So I'm going to need to clean out a couple of my bowls here. So give me 1 second. In this bowl, I have the tiniest little amount of water. So I'm going to actually add some of the carmine red into that water. And I want to make it very, very colorful. That's pretty colorful, I think. So what I do is I'll dip it in, tap twice, and then I'm going to go around my painting, tapping my brush with my index finger, okay? And I'm going to create a little bit of splatter. So dip, 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 tap, 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 tap. And it doesn't matter about size. It's going to show the most on the yellow. It might not show much on the red, but a lot of that red has turned almost orange, so. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm just going to take a little bit of the red and make some larger sort of areas. This is very random. Not too sure why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it. And I think now I'll take some of the yellow and add it to the red in the yellow areas. Maybe so that it kind of blends in more. I don't want it to look like it was purposely put there as a splotch. Do you know what I mean? And I'll do that with the carmine red too. Just around. Shake it up, Raven. That's my Rottweiler. She's a big girl. She's 9 years old. She thinks she's a puppy. And I've got that yellow as well here. I'm going to stay away from that purple though. For the purpley area, I'll take some of the carmine red. I'm just taking what I had for the splatter because it's very watered down. I'll put another one here. All right, now I'm looking through my camera's lens and I'm seeing some areas that I want to make a little more yellow here. Because I don't want them to look like dots of, you know, dots of red. I want them to look like blended areas. So how about I take some of that purple? I'll take fresh purple, the lighter color. And just with some water, soften up the edges with water. Some more of that fresh purple. I want to say Fresh Prince. I'm thinking of that show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When Will Smith was funny and innocent. There we go. All right, I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll do a little bit more splatter. Now I'm going to do some yellow splatter. I did the same thing. I put some yellow with some water into this dish. I'm getting a lot of paint on the brush, tapping it a couple of times, and then tapping my brush. Now, because the purple is dry, it's not going to turn to brown mud. It's not going to be as obvious as the red is, but it's there, kind of in the background. And I'm going to try to get it as much as I can all over the red area. And maybe on those little splotches. There we go. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. So you see, when it dries, the yellow doesn't really show up too much, but the red does. There are some spots where you can see the yellow, but we can do something about that after. And what I'm going to do now is concentrate on my tree branch. So I'm taking my liner brush, and I'm actually going to use black. I don't use black all that much, but I'm going to use it today. So my branch is going to come from this corner. And I'm just doing random, very random. I want to make sure that it's dark enough. So I will go over these a second time. You want your paint to be very wet so that it runs almost like ink. Okay, so I'm just going to continue making branches. And they're all kind of reaching for the yellow area for the sun. That's what I was thinking, you know. Kind of reminded me of, I used to start my plants indoors in April on my windowsill because I have a very short growing season. Let's have some come up here. And so if I wanted any success in my gardening, I really had to start the plants in April. And a long time ago, this was a long time ago, I didn't have grow lights. So I had them in my window and they used to get so leggy. And leggy means they grow tall, but their stems are so weak that when you transplant them outside, they usually fall over and die. And that's the problem with starting them indoors. Because this is what they do. They reach for the sun. They're looking for the light of the sun. So they grow tall to try to search for the sun. Because they don't have enough of it, you know. All right, so I'm going to start doing some offshoots here. Okay. And then maybe some smaller ones. I should start at the top so that I don't I always do that, don't I? I start talking and then I don't finish my thought. I was going to say I should start at the top and go down because now this is all wet. And that's why I was having trouble with that one, because I need to put my hand down. But I can't now because I started the wrong way. if you can hear it in the background, but my cat is snoring. Of course, he stopped just as soon as I said that. They know when I'm talking about them. I'm just darkening up some of them. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to let that dry, because the last thing I want to do is add some kind of blossoms onto some of the branches. Maybe. I'm going to see. But I'll let that dry first. My painting is dry now. So I'm preparing a little bit of white. And by preparing, I'll show you what I mean. Just in my pan, I've added some water, and I'm getting it very, very white. I'm trying to get as much white as I can on my number 4 round brush. And I'm going to be careful. And I'm just putting some dots on the branches, just randomly. I'm not going to put them all over the trees, because I would like to try to do another round of yellow splatter. Maybe with a little more concentrated paint rather than something that's watery. A little more sort of this consistency so that it will show. It's so nice just sitting here and painting without, you know, any pressure. No pressure to be perfect. Just playing with colors and shapes. Okay, let me let that dry completely, and then I'm going to come back to it. I like how it's looking now, but I do want to try a little bit of splatter to see if the yellow will show. It's a little thicker, so usually splatter needs to be watery to work, but let's see. Yeah, I think it's working. Not oh, there we go. I was going to say not as well as if it had more water, but I think it's good. We'll see how it looks when it dries, though. I have to push down a little, tap a little harder, though, to get the paint off the brush. All one more here. Try to get it all off. Okay, that's nice. Maybe I can try that with the carmine red, with that same consistency of paint rather than it being watery. I'm just wiping all the yellow out, and I'll see what I can do with the carmine red. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just putting it into the bowl. It's very, very thick. Okay, let's see what I can do here. Okay. Oh boy, it's not coming off the brush now. There we go. I have to really hit the thing hard here for it to come off because the paint is so thick. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to let it dry, but I think I'm pretty happy with how it looks. Okay, everything's dry. I'm pretty happy. Now, there was a lot of water on this canvas, so it's very possible that my tape could stick and pull off the paper, but I hope not. Let's take this off here. Oh yeah, it's pulling the paper. There we go. I think I salvaged it. When it gets really wet like that, the masking tape really sticks to the paper. I love this part. Sorry about my hand there. There we go. Move my hand out of the way. All right, so that's that, my friends. That is our painting today. A very relaxing painting of just branches reaching for the sun. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you relaxed. I hope that it was fun for you. And I guess I never used my pencil to draw out the branches, and the alcohol was a wash as well, so to speak. I can't remember what it was. I saw it years ago. Somebody used alcohol for something on paint. Maybe it was with acrylic, I don't know. But I think this looks really pretty. Thank you so much for being here, my friends. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss out on future videos. And please leave me a comment. I absolutely love your comments, and I reply to all of them. And share this with anyone you might think will enjoy it. Thanks again for watching, friends. See you next time on Rain Francis Art. Bye.